Thank you for the very warm introduction, Sebastian. And yeah, it was indeed not that much time to prepare. I actually got to know on Friday that I should talk about something, and yeah, as it is, I'm standing here today. So I want to take you along the journey of how we built Fin from 0 to 200, and exactly. And I do believe that story has a subtitle by heavily reducing complexity, which might sound at the moment a little bit confusing to you, but let me walk you through. And I want to tell this story along our investment stages of seed, Series A, Series B, up until today, to make it also a little more tangible for maybe someone in the audience who's also founding a company today and might run into the same struggles that we did over time. And that timeline might then be not 6 years, but 10 years, it doesn't matter. I think the challenges are always the same when you build a company and have to build it up. So yeah, before we get into that, Sebastian already said a couple of words about Fin. Let me talk about what we actually do. So Fin started working on the problem within the automotive industry about car ownership. If you ever owned a car, it sucks. Like 99% of the time it sucks, to be honest, because 99% of the time it's still done offline. There are multiple stakeholders involved, from a dealer, insurance providers. You need to get tires. You need to have a maintenance shop if something breaks down. You need to take care of everything around this car. And that's just, I think, something that we as customers are not used to anymore. We are used to experiences where somebody else takes care of us. And this exactly, somebody else takes care of us, we wanted to also bring to the automotive industry, to car ownership. And that's what car subscriptions are. And that's what we then also started with. It's a shorter subscription, not like leasing, for example, which is multiple years long, more a 12-month contract. You have e-commerce, also something that wasn't very familiar in this industry, where you can, like shoes, go on a website, look at the portfolio, and then a week later you have it standing directly in front of your doorstep because we do delivery as an e-commerce. And yeah, that model, and we are proud to be honest on that part as well, also enables customers to have, as they often say, the longest test drive of their life. It gets people the opportunity to also drive electric vehicles longer, and therefore we are way ahead in terms of the market share, with more than 30% of our fleet already being EVs. And yeah, the customer goes on the website, as said, has a brand assortment of more than 20 brands, which is, for us, we try to be kind of the Zalando of cars. We just go online and can really find anything that you might be seeing fit for yourself. So yeah, so far to Fin as a company, that's what we started in 2019 with, and that's what we still do today. And as said, I want to take you along those investment stages. And as my talk is also called Going from 0 to 200 million in revenue, I also want to take you along how that revenue actually develops. So all the slides that they're going to show with the revenue graphs are our actual numbers. And the first part is within 12 months going from 0 to more than 5 million euros. And back in 2019, we asked ourselves the question, how can we actually, I brought something that you might know from Netflix, sell whatever online fast. And for us, the question was, how are cars different than shoes? How are cars different than really anything that we sell online? And from our perspective, it's not so much different. So why reinvent the wheel? Why spend a lot of time, a lot of complexity on things that are out there in the market? What do you need for selling? You need some CRM where you have your customers in. You need a website where we wanted to use Shopify, but Shopify didn't support cars back in the days, so we use Webflow. And you need some traffic, which you can buy online. Like, I think there has been numerous years of Google Ads, and also the car industry is very, very familiar with just buying traffic. The core thing here is, and I think that's, to be honest, also true for most of the business that try to sell something, is actually getting access to what you're selling, which in our case was cars. As a small startup being in this industry where there are tons of old players, and us knocking on them door and asking, hey, we want 100 cars, they were laughing at us. And like, oh, you're a startup, what do you want to do with 100 cars? Stop doing this, figure something else out. And to be honest, we didn't stop. We focused on this specific thing until we actually had cars. We only had one brand, which was Opel, might not be the most sexiest one, but it enabled us to get going and enabled us to truly also validate the other parts of it. And that brings me also to my first lesson. Tech issues. which is understand what will break your assumptions. I showed you this before. The CRM, a website, traffic through Google Ads, that is not something that you should be worrying about, that you should be spending your complexity on. Understand, not only within this challenge, but in any challenge, what is the core thing that you need to validate to ultimately understand, can I move forward? Can I basically tick that box and move on? And if you have that, take on the next challenge. There are so many things we can worry about, but try to really put it down to the single thing that will break basically your entire problem statement that you're looking at. All right, let's move on. After seed, Series A, we are in December 2020 at 5 million of revenue. Just 18 months later, we go to more than 60 million of revenue. That's a more than 10x growth. And for us, that meant bringing a lot more customers in. And a lot more customers also meant things were failing everywhere. So it starts with delays within delivery, not days, multiple weeks. We had long waiting times within our customer care, not minutes, hours, up until an automation canceled the call with the customer. Wrong cars at the wrong place. I don't know, a customer ordering an X5, getting a Corsa, and then calling us and saying, hey, I think I have the wrong car here. And even the most simple thing as something like an e-commerce booking didn't go through. And yeah, that's problems of growth. That's nice problems to have because it means that you're hitting your limits. And our limits were based on the fact that we used no-code. Some of you might know that Finn is kind of a true spreader of the word that you should use no-code. And I will come to that in a second, but all of those problems go back to us using no-code. Because we build it all on Airtable as a database, and you might think like Airtable, I as a techie lose, I don't know, Postgres or whatever, but Airtable enabled us to really build up those processes fast. Like we connected, and that's as said, like a lot of things come together with cars. You need to connect lots of providers. It enabled us to do this in a very fast and easy way, swap out the players also quickly to then get to a process where something like this manually doesn't take a week anymore, but actually only took 2 days for us internally and with a lot less manual work. But as you see, a lot of providers are there, which meant that this Airtable base was hit by more than 5 requests per second. 5 requests per second. Again, Postgres easy, but Airtable had this artificial limit of only being capable to handle 5 requests per second. And in the moment you got over that, it said no for 30 seconds. Someone that can say no and you actually accept it. And we couldn't do anything. Customers couldn't do anything. Our partners couldn't do anything. Our customer care couldn't do anything. So it was really hurting us and basically not allowing us also to scale forward. But I wouldn't be standing here as someone from Finn telling you next time, don't use no-code. I would really encourage you to actually use no-code when you come to similar challenges like this. No-code, also vibe coding, any technology that enables you to move fast and also ship fast and learn fast is, to be honest, an enabler for growth, is an enabler to also help you navigate complexity, because you can easily swap around also those components, for example, with an Airtable, start trying out different things, plug in, even from business people's side, different providers, and actually start learning very fast. At some point you will hit, and you can see that in the chart, you will hit a point in time where it might not work anymore. But the speed you have in the beginning is so much more worth that, as said, I really want to encourage to everyone to use it. And not only to use it in a potential Series A stage, but understand in which use cases also which potential solution might be a good fit. Yes, today we do use the things I talked about on the Pro Code side, but we still, to today, use for some things internal tools, for example, Retool, and on the also automation part still, I think next week is the Make Waves conference here also in Munich, and we are co-sponsor of it, still heavily use Make as one of the automation tools that is no-code enabled to truly reduce complexity and allow us to move fast. And again, to put this into a lesson for me, it's don't reinvent things that work until they break. I can tell a story about that. I think that it makes it very tangible. So as said, I joined the company in the very, very beginning on day one. And my first task was build a website. So as I showed you, I built a Webflow page, and I put behind that a Google Sheets database. Today, a bit ashamed of that, but doesn't matter. And the CTO, he joined after me, and I was very, very afraid of the first meeting. He came from West Wing, had built a multi-million-dollar company, and I expected the first meeting to be like something, what the fuck, you built a Google Sheets database? But actually he said, you're making money with this? Perfect. Don't touch it, leave it exactly like is. As a company within our stage, we have so many other problems to worry about. Don't reinvent it. Let's move on until it breaks. And yeah, that's lesson 2. All right, we move on after Series A, Series B. As said, we are now in May 2022, and this is the point in time where we go from 60 million to the next investment stage at early January 2024, going from 60 million over 150 million. It's not a 10x growth anymore, but significant growth in terms of revenue. Also, again, making our company much bigger. This was also reported by the news that we thought we were doing that great, that we even went to the USA to also scale our business there. And as said, had a huge growth of revenue across all the boards. So I think everyone within Fin was extremely excited about what's coming next, US growth, everything is perfect. But then you all know something changed in the market. So I think the core thing for us that changed was that we had inflation, and the ECB reacted correctly to increase our interest rates. And being a company that's so dependent on money we show you that we make a lot of money, but of course also you have to buy cars, which are very expensive. And you can imagine if you want to buy cars, you have to have some sort of credit. And you know better than I think everyone, if you're a private person, interest rates are expensive. And if you put that to the scale that we had back in the days, it was hurting us heavily. So the rocket fuel that we had before, the investor money, of course, that we got, and the growth that it enabled us, it was all of a sudden gone. We lost our car financing, operational costs were more expensive, and also financing rounds got more and more infrequent. And what do you do as a company in such a situation? You have to really turn your focus around. And I do believe there, from a top-down perspective, telling everyone, hey, it's not the time for growth anymore. We have to get our shit together. We have to really understand what we do as a company and how we actually can get this ship turned around into a profitable company to cut the corners, for example, by stopping the US. For example, by understanding what are the core drivers for our business in terms of costs, like actually delivering the car to the customer and actually charging also for not just giving it away for free, and putting this into the minds of customers with clear OKRs with a single focus. And I also think OKRs are good for that. And sorry, let's go back one more. Here we go. How is this relevant for a product conference? I mean, this is like, I don't know, things that are decided on C-level. What do we put as OKRs? What do we give people as focus? But I'm a strong believer of the fact that we as product, we have to understand the business better than anyone else in the company. And we had the example from Thomas before where he described that product is some sort of egg yolk in the company. I would go even more extreme. There shouldn't be any egg yolk. We should be scrambled eggs to the fact that we are embedded into every department where we truly understand what are the problems of each of the single contributing factors to business success. A product manager needs to build a business case. A product manager needs to understand how their solutions are helping ultimately to drive a company to a better solution. And yes, when you set up a new company, that's easy. I understand when you're in a legacy company, pushing for that change might not be that easy, but still try it. And at least if you can't, try to think in this model, because product is not a bubble that lives somewhere outside of the core business, but it should be understanding what ultimately needs to be done to also help the company succeed. And I think not only succeed, but also coming back to my original point, helping reduce complexity. If we sit somewhere else and our engineering team comes around with the idea, hey, we need a Postgres. No, we don't. We have a working solution, and that's reducing complexity to truly focus on the things that are also important. All right. Let's go to today, as said, in we raised another Series C at the beginning of 2024, but I want to make this last part more about how we work as a company today. And you can also see that's the entire, basically, revenue development we had as a company, starting October 19, making the first money and going to October 2025, having reached more than 200 million in terms of annual recurring revenue through our customers. And again, here, the simple thing we from product leadership tell everyone is to work within feedback loops. I think something we heard today oftentimes, and I think it is in theory very easy to truly understand a problem from a user or from a business and then ship fast to actually get to insights fast. But I want to also here bring an example on how we live that on a day-to-day basis at Finn to shipping something bigger that might not be so easy to get your head around. So this example is car delivery experience. And today, every customer of Finn gets their car delivered to their doorstep. As said, we wanted to do e-commerce in the beginning. And for us, that also meant delivering the car to the person's home. Having now more than 30,000 cars on the road and wanting to go to more than double of that next year, at some point, this becomes, from an operations perspective, more and more difficult to handle. So we have this vision that we build a Finn station where customers can pick up their car, they can do service, they can have this one-stop shop where everything we can also do more scalable. More scalable and also cheaper for us because we can deliver multiple cars to the same place and don't have to do this one-to-one delivery anymore. You could now say, okay, let's make a 2-year roadmap for building 20 of those stations in Germany because we know that's going to be the right thing. But we don't. We don't know that's the right thing. And it comes back to also my example from before. We shouldn't, even if this is an operations problem, having the operations team working on it, but we should be applying product principles for also solving such a challenge. And that starts with an hypothesis. And for us, the key hypothesis in this place was that if we start offering customers to ultimately pick up these cars, so we start with the customer, enough customers would actually be interested, that it would reduce costs for us. If we don't see enough interest, it doesn't make sense for us that we continue with this, and we need to find better ways around it. And what is the most simple way is then the next question on how you get an answer to some part of this question. You don't go to a station directly, but you try to make it into some sort of very easy thing that you can ship within days, within hours even. And for us, this was to put a fake door test. So for all of you who don't know fake doors, it's basically a function that doesn't work. You tell someone that they can actually pick up their car, but if they continue, you tell them, hey, this is not available yet. Here you have a discount for 100 euros, move on. But it helps us, and that's the core piece, to understand how many customers would be choosing it. And that first step showed us 60% of customers are actually interested to pick up their car. And basically by that, put a tick behind the first part of the hypothesis that we have enough traction on it, which allowed us to do a next step, which was then more on the cost side, but doing an actual pilot. So we basically reached out to 100 customers in the area around Munich and asked them, hey, you want your car being picked up at our headquarters? And again, we saw a good take rate. And again, we actually then had a physical prototype of also validating what are the processes, what are the costs, to also put a check mark behind the second part. And yeah, after the pilot also being successful, we now have the first actual station live in Munich. And for the ones who are working at Ostbahnhof, you might have seen it. It is a real station. Customers can book this option in the checkout today for then picking up the car there. Up until today, we have a CSAT of 100 for those deliveries that we do, plus we also start seeing the first cost reductions alongside. Plus a take rate of 60% that we also validate at the beginning, so a good success for us. And yeah, that brings me back to my original message from the beginning, reducing complexity. And my ask to you is, stop over-complexifying. I strongly believe that imperfection is the enabler for fast growth. If you spend too much time on building something until you are happy with, you will be way too late to launch something. As I said, we launched our product with Google Sheets as a database. Nobody would ever put this in the book and say, that's good, that's perfect, that's something you should do. But it enabled us to start learning. And if you don't do it, you will be wasting your time asking questions, asking or spending too much time on building something, and not putting it in the part where it matters most, into building up your company and building up your growth. So yeah, stop overcomplexifying. And yeah, that's how Finn got from 0 to 200 million, and would love to open up for the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Jens. Sorry about the clicker. So there's a funny story. All right, before we dive into Q&A, there's a funny story about the clicker. This has been a constant worry of us for like 3 years. So first year we had a clicker, did not really work properly. Next year we got another clicker that we obviously tested, right? Did not work. Then we exchanged it for this clicker, which worked perfectly. This year we tried another clicker that also didn't work, so we switched back to our old solution, which is now not working either. So
this was all good. Don't worry.
So that's also product or like live things for you. Or you want to throw it yourself, right?
Yeah.
All right. Who has a question for Jens? And please cover your head when he's throwing it, because he seems excited about this. All right. Any takers? Over there? Perfect. Can you throw that far? Oh, no. Close. Very close. Very close.
Let me go here so I see.
Thank you for the presentation. So what's your, if you would describe your company, is it a service company? Is it a software company? Is it a car rental? What is it?
Do we need to give it a name?
Not really, but I just wanted to...
That would be my answer, to be honest, that I wouldn't put a name on it. But we try to be, of course, software-driven in everything that we do. We do believe strongly that every problem out there can be solved with also a good tech solution around it. And that's why we equip all of our people, as said, from no-code to pro-code on this scale to really solve also those problems in a also scalable and fast fashion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. There's one more.
Yeah, thank you for the lovely presentation. My question is, since there is a lot of tools like Airtable, Anyten, Make, Zapier, Bubble, whatever, and all of those has some limits, like you hit tokens or they're not capable, and you build a whole product on top of no code. So how did you decide like what tech stack, how to complete the puzzle of different tools? So yeah, how did you decide what to use?
To be honest, we probably here didn't spend too much time on like finding the perfect fit for it, but we tried to find something that's good enough. I said in the beginning, we started using Webflow. To be honest, this was not a big research project of trying to find the best website builder, but going out there thinking, what are people using? Let's go. And I think the same applies also for things like Integromat Make. Today, we actually started with Zapier. At some point, it didn't work for us anymore, and then we started looking what's out there as well. And we found Integromat, which was back in the days a small Prague company that nobody knew, but it worked. So yeah, don't spend too much time on trying to find the best tool that solves all your problems. Often it's not the tool that will help you enable growth.
I love the approach. Thanks.
There was one more.
Thanks. I would agree that it's not a good idea to spend a lot of time fixing something that works, even if it's very simple. Yeah. But question on the timing, you said that if you build something too perfect, you are missing the opportunity. Could you elaborate on that? Like if Finn had launched like 3 months or 6 months later, wouldn't it still have been relevant? I think it would have been.
Yes, sure. But I think you can ask yourself the same question, because you have to build so many things to build up a company that if you say, okay, let's just take this part of the puzzle and make it perfect, and the rest we do imperfect, I think it doesn't work. I think you need to apply this approach to every problem that comes to you. Otherwise, you will slow yourself down.
Agree.
2 more.
Okay, question goes same direction like the low-code thingy.
Yeah.
How did you deal with the limitations of it? Because not just the AP limit, the RP limiter is there. There's also different features that you cannot just build in Airtable, for example. How did you deal with that?
Yes, there are certain things you cannot build in Airtable, but then you will find another way around it. So then the solution might not be Airtable, but something else that's out there. And yeah, I think if you understand also then at some point more about a problem, you can also then move something to pro code. So for us, it was kind of, let's try to reduce complexity so much that we can actually build it in no code, learn, and at some point we will know enough to put it into pro code.
Okay, and if you scale the local solution, how did you deal with the cost? Because from my perspective, costs are also scaling up in low code very fast.
How expensive is a software developer?
Expensive.
Yeah. No code is cheaper, definitely.
Okay. Good.
So yeah, in the first year, we had only one software engineer.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, there was one more.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is focused on boundaries, right? Like you are a company started in Germany and then you moved to USR.
Yeah.
How did it affect the product org, and what was your experience, if you can share that?
Yeah, so I think the first point that I want to make is that we didn't have a product org, so really our product managers are embedded into our business units. So basically every unit that was duplicated also had some sort of equivalent in the US, but we tried to really simplify that because, again, lots of the processes that we had built were also more or less the same for the US. So we didn't try to reinvent the wheel in the beginning, reuse as much as we have from, for example, our website or processes in the back end, and basically take it by that. So the same teams worked on both.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, I have to cut this. I'm so sorry, brutally sorry. But you can find Jens, obviously, later on, hopefully with still a bit of left candy, but we have nuts. I mean, it's like, this is a healthier choice anyways, so we are taking care of you today. So, thank you so much, Jens. This is your applause.